Hello, friends. Hello, and welcome back to the Moon video. We are here to share about the upcoming energies of the Libra full moon, which is occurring on Saturday, April 12th, 2025. And when I felt into the energies of this Libra full moon, the theme that I intuited is drop the power struggles. Drop the power struggles. And we're going to dive well more into that. But I just want to talk a little bit about Libra energy in and how that kind of plays into like relationships and power struggles within relationships, since that's a big theme with this full moon. So, Libra is the cardinal air sign of the zodiac. All right. Cardinal signs are instigators, they are trendsetters, they start things. And so, Libra is also the start of autumn here in the Northern Hemisphere. This is a Libra full moon, not a Libra new moon. So, we're in spring, not autumn. But with that air element, that's also the air element is the aspect of our minds and our mindset and thinking. And so when we think about Libra energy and that air element, we know we're going to be dealing with a lot of mental thoughts. And because it's the moon, we also know we're going to be dealing with a lot of kind of mentally projected emotions, which means emotions that are coming up because of thought patterns, not authentic feeling. There's a difference. We've talked about it many times. I'm sure we will continue talking about it many times. But just note that because we have a lot of this air energy with this Libra full moon, and because we have a full moon, which always brings up emotions, we might notice that there's a lot of emotions that are coming up that are tied to mental patterns, often negative mental patterns, but not only, it can be positive as well. Now, when we think about Libra, Libra is represented by the scales. Like when you look at the glyph for this zodiac sign, or when you even just look at the representation of the sign itself, it's the scales. It literally looks like the scales. Now, someone said the other day, when you look at it in the actual glyphs, like when you're reading an astrology chart, it actually looks like the sunset. And I was like, oh my God, it totally does. I totally saw that. Anyway, tangent.
Balance,
Tangent.
right? Switching
Yeah.
sides. Yeah.
But it is about balance. Libra is all about balance, and Libra is about equity and equality. Libra, and if you think about Libra being that kind of sister sign to Aries, Aries is all about the self, me. Libra is all about the community, we. And it's almost like how we fit into that community. Now, because of that, on the shadow side, Libra can have some people pleasing, fawning type tendencies. Um, but Libra in its light aspect is so compassionate, so caring, really wants the world to be just and fair for everybody. For everybody. Now, again, this is a Libra full moon, which means we are in Aries season. We have an Aries sun with this polarity with the Libra moon. So we might notice there's a bit of a dichotomy or a little bit of a tension between satisfying or fulfilling our own needs and our feeling of responsibility for fulfilling other people's needs as well. And when we think about Libra energy, especially in relationships, there's almost this sense of like, my opinion doesn't really matter. Like, let's just keep the peace. And there is a little bit of that that's coming in with this full moon. I mean, I think it's interesting, Sarah. Like, I think we're definitely living in a period of time where resistance is really important in so many ways, in so many ways. Yet we can also really burn ourselves out when we're constantly fighting every little thing that comes our way. It's like that constant defensiveness. It's exhausting. And when we're dealing with certain relational things, like on a personal level, our relationships with our family, our business partners, our closest loved ones, there can be moments where we feel like, no, I have to be right. Like, I
hmm
really need to be right. And this other person really needs to feel my rightness. And I do think that is going to come up with this full moon. But what this full moon is encouraging us to lean into is like, is it worth my energy to resist here? Or is it better for me to actually maintain my peace and not resist and just stay in my vibration of truth, regardless of where that other person is? Now, I know
Right.
we were chatting a little bit about some of the other astrology at play that might be bringing up some of this kind of friction that I was feeling intuitively as well. And so we're going to chat about that. But one thing I did want to state with this Libra full moon, it is the end of eclipse season. Like once we get to this Libra full moon, we are officially out of eclipse season. Woo! Yep. So like if you want to make your moon water, if you want to charge your crystals, if you want to start like actively, intentionally manifesting again, great time to do it. If you did it during eclipse season, great. You do you. It's all you get to choose. It's you're sovereign, you know? It's just how we choose to do things. It's also when we have this Libra full moon, Mercury will be direct, I
Hmm.
believe. Mercury stations direct on the 8th. And hey, sorry, my dog, Wookie. Thank you, honey. And we, on the day of the full moon, Venus stations direct. So we will have mainly, I think, all planets direct.
Literally all planets will be direct until I think it's May, but Pluto's the one that stations retrograde, which is not a big deal. So all inner planets will be direct until I think July.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe
And
June,
that's,
but
yeah,
definitely July. Yeah.
which is going to be wonderful. It's been a
Mhm.
very long time of feeling retrograde energy. And I don't know about you guys, but like because I'm a Cancer Sun, Cancer rising, Mars being in Cancer for this long feels so retrograde to me. Like I know Mars was retrograde for a while, but like I have not felt the shift of Mars going direct because it's still in my first house. And anyway, um, but what's interesting is with the focus on relationships and like peace versus righteousness that I'm feeling with relationships, I do feel like that's very associated with Venus going direct again.
Yeah.
Because with Venus being retrograde for as long as she's been, it's really had us kind of questioning some things within our relationships, questioning some things within our values, finances, aesthetics, but really our relationships. So much to do with
Yeah.
our relationships. So yeah, tell us a little bit about the astrology of this lunation, Sarah.
Yeah. So I love what you're saying about resistance versus like keeping the peace a little bit. Something I just wanted to say before jumping into the astrology that I think really speaks to that is that I also think there's a level of convincing other people of your truth versus embodying it. Like we don't have to force other people to say, yes, I agree. We can showcase that simply by being who we truly are. And so I think that's really going to come up a lot with this full moon too, because there's relationships, there's the Aries and Libra balance. So just stating that that's also a form of resistance, is just simply being who you are. Um, and that can be less tiring than arguing your way to your point. I know this through experience.
Yeah, seriously.
I
My projector energy is like, mm-hmm,
Right. Speaking of like with family and stuff like that, rather than trying to, get them to be like, yes, I get it now. I'm like, I'm just gonna, I feel like people hear you better when you're not arguing at
yeah,
them your point. So,
yeah. It's true
um,
because like when people are coming at you with that argument type or aggressive type energy, it usually creates a defensiveness within us. And when we get really defensive, we don't hear things
right.
correctly. We hear
Yeah.
things through our triggers, not through reality.
Yeah. And so that Aries Libra balance is really about bringing like Aries is about yourself, but then Libra is about bringing that into relationships.
Yeah.
And so it's,
Yeah.
finding your true self in relationships. We understand ourselves better through interacting with others, but only if we show up authentically.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And I
that's
think,
for
yeah,
sure.
I love what you just shared. And I also think when we think about Libra and balance, this idea that true inner balance is not about controlling all the things around us. It's about centering ourselves
Mhm.
in the midst of all the things around us.
Right, right.
um,
Absolutely.
which is where I feel like some of that energy of like, hey, really feel into like if it's better aligned for you to just drop the fight, for you to just be in acceptance of wherever they're at and stay in acceptance of where you're at without
Mm.
having to prove yourself, without having to convince them. Um, and it kind of we shared about this. Like I haven't read the book yet, so I didn't want to talk too much about it, but it very much reminds me of Mel Robbins' book right now called Let Them. That energy of just like letting people do what they're gonna do. Like let them. If they're gonna freak out, instead of trying to like calm them down, like, let them. Just let them.
Mhm.
That's definitely something I was feeling when I was feeling it intuitively to this moon.
Which is a big skill and it takes a lot of practice and sometimes we got it and then we revert
Yep.
back.
Yep.
It's an
Yep.
ongoing practice, radical
And
acceptance.
maybe we would also bring that to ourselves.
Mhm.
Like maybe we also just let ourselves sometimes too.
Oh, definitely. That's a perfect segue to the astrology because
Chiron, here we go.
here we go. So I will say, the astrology of April is wonderful. A majority of it is really wonderful. I feel like every week we get a little bit of like clarity and things start to lighten up throughout the month. This full moon is not the most wonderful astrology, but I do think it's important amongst all this more supportive energy to have more moments of tension because when everything's going, you know, trines and sextiles and supportive energy, we kick back a little bit and we don't push for the change. So I do feel like this new moon right in the middle of the month is that thing that is here to instigate some change. So let me just preface it with that. It may sound a little intense, but again, I think it's here to really help us push forward. So the astrology of this full moon, it is forming a T square, which means it's all of the intense tran aspects. So we have the moon forming an opposition to Chiron, and Chiron rules our deepest wounds. It also rules the way we heal. It also rules a level of compassion. Um, but it's the wounds that kind of keep coming back, the wounds that we got in our childhood. Maybe they were passed on to us before we were even born. Um, but there are these things that like we keep working on them and they come back in different ways and they're just kind of here with us through life. And the good thing about Chiron is though we become experts in those things. So it's not all bad things because we learn how to get really intentional with them in order to heal them.
Yeah.
So with the full moon opposite to that, we have full emotions with the full moon, and the moon also represents our sense of security. And so it's this push-pull energy between our desire to feel safe and secure, the moon, and needing to feel the discomfort and the pain in order to work through those wounds. So it will most likely bring up a situation where it brings awareness to that imbalance and where we need to bring more balance to those things. Like maybe we're avoiding things because it feels uncomfortable, or maybe we're, wallowing too deep in the emotion in order to actually see it for what it is. Maybe we're
Right.
falling too far to be a little bit more objective. I think both are very important. Um, Now that's the opposition. Both of them, Chiron and Mars, are forming a square. I'm sorry, Chiron and the moon are forming a square to Mars. So
Yeah.
that means all of that energy I just spoke about is being expressed through Mars, which rules the way that we assert ourselves, wanting to take action, our desires, our motivations, um, and especially when we have vulnerability from Chiron and big emotions from the moon, that can turn into aggression. So it's really going to have us wanting to take action, which might just feel the word reactive just really
Yeah.
comes to mind.
Yeah.
Like we're feeling and we want to do something to fix the problem, although these are heavy, deep wounds. So they are going to take a level of sitting with them and feeling them out before we're ready to take action. So it's
Yeah.
really going to be this kind of tension,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I just want to do something in order to f get this feeling away. Um, so overall, it could just feel a little icky. It could just feel a little tense, but it will give us an opportunity to understand what are the coping mechanisms and the processing mechanisms that we have right now, and how can we use them when we're feeling a lot in our body because Mars rules our body as well
Mhm.
too. So my suggestion is somatic healing, somatic practices, move your body, dancing,
Yeah.
get weird, like let that energy, let that emotion move through your body.
Yeah.
Because with Chiron and Mars as well, we store emotions in our body.
Yeah.
whether we know it or not. And so this could trigger those emotions to come up. So it could have us feeling, really inflamed or just our body's hurting that day, which doesn't add to feeling great. Um, so again, I would really just prioritize taking care of your body on and around this day, um, and listen to it because
Yeah.
it's there. When if something's hurting, it's a sign that something's not right. We don't need to be like necessarily super upset about it, but it's like, oh, okay, that's a moment for me to be like, something's not right in my body. What can I do? What can I feel to sit with this for a little bit? What can I
Yeah.
do to just help take a bath? Anything like that to kind of pay attention to it. Because, like you said, Mars is still in Cancer, so there is that water energy coming through. All of them are in cardinal signs. So, again, not
Interesting.
initiating energy of like, I want to start something, do something.
Yeah. And with Mars being in Cancer, doesn't that bring the moon into some governance of Mars, even as Mars is like hitting the moon in this more tense aspect?
Yes, exactly.
So I can
Cancer is
feel
ruled
even
by
more the
Mars.
push and pull in our own emotions
Yeah,
because of that.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Cancer is ruled by the moon, so therefore, right now, the moon is governing Mars.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Which, if you've noticed for the since basically the start of the year, that
yeah,
your motivation has been very dependent on your mood, you can thank Mars being in Cancer for that.
yes. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We've had this awkward energy of like, I want to do something about the way I'm feeling, but we really need to feel the way we're feeling. That awkward energy has been going on since January 6th.
Yeah.
And we got a
Yeah.
little taste of that back in November. But we're almost out of it, April 17th, and we won't feel that for another 2 years. So
That'd be nice. That'd be
yeah.
nice. I'm very much looking forward to it. For me, Mars in Cancer has been like everything that I try and plan, like somehow just doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. Or, like,
Trying to
or the
do
things that
stuff and it's
usually it
not
would take
working
me
out.
like 2 weeks to plan or like emails back and forth. Like it's just everything's taking longer. And it's just anyway. But you know what you just shared about Chiron and the tension that we are going to feel, especially emotionally, really speaks to kind of what I got intuitively, which is that dropping the power struggle is going to be one of the remedies we have to deal with the heavier emotions of this Libra full moon. So, noticing in ourselves, because we're all going to be a little bit triggered. Now, those of us who work with the moon, who are aware of the astrology, at least have that background understanding of like the energies at play are pushing me in this direction, which means people around me are going to be feeling this too.
Mhm.
So those of us who have this awareness of like, wow, we're all feeling a little bit instigated, like we can then be like, wait a second, I'm going to breathe and I'm going to recognize that I'm just getting involved in a power trip right now, a power struggle. And that's not actually my truth. And so we can be the ones to just kind of take a breath and drop the struggle, come back to the place of truth, of peace, of like, I can be in this vibration of knowing what's real for me. This person doesn't have to agree with me for it to still be real for me. That's kind of what we're being tasked to do is center ourselves, center our own truth. And I don't want to take too much longer because we've been chatting for a while, but I just wanted to talk a little bit about truth because another thing that came through for this Libra full moon has to do with the throat chakra and the theme of truth itself. And we can often think that when we're just speaking out loud and we're sharing our truth and we're like getting everyone to hear us, like that must be a balanced throat chakra. But when we're in a position of using our throat to convince other people, to persuade them, it's actually often a sign of a depleted throat chakra. If we feel like we need to convince them in order to feel it true for in our within ourselves, we're not actually rooted in the truth of it. We need other people to convince us of it. And so we feel like we need to convince them of it. The throat chakra itself doesn't really care about how its truth is received. The throat chakra just wants to be in connection and expression of that person's authentic truth. And that can be unique for each and every one of us, what is true to us, right? We often get bogged down and block our own throat chakras because we care about how what we're going to say is going to be received. But if we recognize that for the throat itself and for the balancing of the throat, it's just in the expression of it and it doesn't really matter how it's going to be received, we then have a lot more tools at our disposal to not stay blocked in the center, right? So if we're feeling hurt in a certain way, I mean, yes, it's always nice to be able to go to the source and be like, hey, this hurt me. But if we know they're not going to receive it in that moment, maybe we just take that time and go write it in our journal, go speak it to our pet, speak it to a tree, get it out of us, be in the authentic expression of it. That's really what matters to the throat. And so, for this particular lunation, if you're noticing that you trying to share your truth with others is leading to power struggles, is leading to fights, and is leading to you being in an energy that feels like you're forcing or controlling or having to prove yourself, your task is to come back to yourself and express for your own self what is true for you. And don't worry about it being received. That's not what this is about. This is about your inner peace, your inner serenity, your connection to your truth. And sometimes we really do have to drop the power struggles to get there.
Beautiful. Love that.
Yeah. So that's the energy of this full moon. Lots of ways to work with this full moon. I love what Sarah shared about like letting yourself be with some of the emotions, moving your body, giving yourself movement, dance, walking, sometimes just like laying on the floor and gyrating, like moving in whatever weird way your body just wants to stretch and move in. Can be fantastic. If you know you're someone who can get really fired up and needs to like weight lift or like do something intense, this could be a really good moon to do something intense for your body to help move some of that energies. Also, this is a really, really great new moon to look at some of the relationships, some toxic type traits that might be happening within your relationship because of the way that Venus is also stationing direct on this day. We might have a lot of just epiphanies or ahas or like, huh, this is a new way I want to kind of like root myself in relationships moving forward. So this is a good full moon to do some journaling around some traits you like within the relationships you have, maybe some patterns and traits you don't like, how you'd like to see that shift and change moving forward as well. And if you're looking for more ways to work with this full moon, please check out the full moon blog. We will link it below. And if you want even more ways to work with the full moon, please come and join us over in the Intuitive Moon community. We'll be circling for this full moon on Monday the 14th. We circle up. We talk about the energies. We usually do some form of somatic movement, dance, and then I do intuitive reads for those circles as well. And we also have additional journal prompts, rituals, and horoscopes within the community for our community members as well. So you can check that out. I'll link it below over at the Intuitive Moon community. Thank you guys so much for being here. Happy full moon in Libra. Great job getting through the eclipse season. Great job getting through the retrogrades. We're moving forward. We're moving forward. Any last words, Sarah?
No, that's pretty much it. Wrapped it up perfectly.
Amazing. Okay, we'll see you guys in a few weeks for our new moon in Taurus. Bye, friends.